Ready?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Hall of Fame feature and hidden audio log, where we show off our favorite games of all time.
All time.
All time. And guess
Single
what, Ross
ladies.
Harley?
Yes,
It's my turn to add a game to the Hall of Fame, and I'm Batman.
I heard that about you.
And this is Arkham City. Asylum City. Asylum City.
Basically the same game. What?
Oh,
No.
it's true. No. So you've
no.
been playing Arkham City recently.
Yes, for the very first time.
I've been...
Yep.
The Arkham Knight got announced recently,
Yes.
October 14th. And I figured, what better time it is to go back to where it all started.
Yes, indeed. This came out in 2009.
It's a while ago.
Yeah, nearly 5 years ago. It's hard to believe.
PC
Christ.
port doesn't look that bad. It looks pretty good.
That is a fantastic version of the game. Did
Yeah.
a super job on it.
This game looks really good still.
Plays. It even plays well for mouse and keyboard. Usually most of these games don't really, but they even did that right. So.
Yeah, I have a 360 controller plugged in because that's how I've played it. Oops, there's a guy here. Oh, that's a good
The
game.
thing that I found playing it with a mouse and keyboard, you have better camera control during combat.
Interesting. See, I barely touched the camera during...
I find it's one of the few quirks that these games can have. It can get a bit stuck sometimes.
I always
Or
feel
you
like
might get like punched off camera. It's quite rare for it to happen, but yeah.
I always feel like it goes out to such a far isometric perspective at some point that
Yeah.
it doesn't become noticeable. Oh, and another Batman thing I suppose we should announce is not announce but address is that Blackgate recently came out on PC.
Yeah, it
Everything?
did. And the other consoles, the old ones, not the new ones. Yeah. I think it came out anyway, or it's about to come out. Either one of the two.
Either one. I always get those confused, to be honest.
So, yes, I remember this. Some people were looking forward to it, but most people weren't.
Most people
Really?
were very cynical about it, which, okay, fair enough. Batman games do not have a great reputation.
Yeah,
And it was coming from Rocksteady, who's kind of unproven.
yeah, they did one great game, but that's it.
Well, debatable if it's great. I haven't
Yeah,
played it.
yeah,
But
it's
some
a pretty
people
good game.
Some
It's a
people
pretty good game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's Urban
Urban Chaos, right?
Right
Response.
Yes. So that's a video game, apparently. Oh, whoa! I ran into some dudes who were shooting me. So Batman doesn't like bullets.
No,
don't know
that's
if you know this.
That's his main weakness. Really.
That's his enemy. Bullets are his enemy in this game. This game, when it came out, was super innovative. Maybe not innovative, but
Yeah, it's a wrong word to use, but super
it was a revelation for like the action
influential.
adventure genre.
Influential would be a good word for it.
It was very influential because of maybe it wasn't innovative, but it felt innovative in terms of like how it combined three different systems together, which all felt really different from each other, and were things you didn't really see in other games. Like there's a stealth system here, there's a hand-to-hand fighting combat system, but the way that they execute them is so unique compared to other games that having all three of these different systems, which is the combat stuff, the world traversal stuff, and the oh god damn it, I forget some of the weird animation priority in this game. Like I'm in the combat right now. It's rhythm based.
Basically, yeah.
There, people say it's kind of Simon Says-y, where like the blue comes up, you have to hit the counter, stuff like that. Like
Counter.
and it is. You have to, if you want to be the ideal Arkham Asylum player, then you have to hit the cues and time your attacks at a certain point where you can hit those cues. Like I was in the middle of a knockout animation there, so I wasn't able to counter that guy. Maybe if I was better at the game, I'd be able to chain it better. I did.
I think you have enough control over it that you feel like you're doing everything. Like it's not like you're on rails, like just hitting buttons and he automatically bounces between the guys. Like you're pushing the direction. You feel like you're targeting who you want to target, that sort of thing. And later on in the game, as you get more gadgets, like it's up to you how you want to approach combat situations to a point. You can choose whether or not you want to use things like batarangs and stuff like that just to mix things up. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, they tie together the gadgets really well with like double hitting a button, like I believe it's left trigger, double hitting left trigger
Yes.
throws out batarangs, stuff like that. It's kind of the thing where in Arkham City, I felt like it kind of got over. I felt like there were more gadgets than there were buttons on the controller at some point. It felt like it was stacking up a little too far. Like they included like everything in Arkham Asylum in terms of gadgets, and then a bunch more. I felt like the combat was getting kind of like convoluted at some point.
Yeah, well, that's the scary thing about playing Arkham City after not playing Asylum for a long time, is that in that game you start off with pretty much all the gadgets in this game. Almost all of them. I don't think you get every single one, but enough so it's a wee bit of it's a bit scary jumping into that game, just because you have all that stuff and you don't necessarily remember how it all works, but you get the hang of it.
Also, this was the game that first, like, you can see me walking around in it, using it, is Detective Vision, which a bunch of games, and still a bunch of games at this point, still utilize. One of the main criticisms about this game is that you spend so much in Detective Vision that, like, it kind of washes out the art style of this game. This game looks really good, so it's a shame that you could be spending large sections of the game in Detective Vision.
Yeah, I agree.
I had problems in such games such as no, I'm supposed to be following a trail here. Games like Dishonored, where I was like in the night vision mode constantly because like it gave you so much more useful information than just looking at the game normally does.
Yeah, I think that City addressed that a bit, but still not enough.
Still been an issue. I don't remember it being as much of a problem in Origins, but that's because there's probably more pertinent issues of Origins that I kind of didn't like focus in on too much about it.
It looks like medical is his next target.
Extremely polished game, just in terms of all of its different systems. They all feel fairly well fleshed out for like the first entry in a title. Like it never seems lacking in terms of content. And the game is quite long, if I remember right. And there is a bunch for you to do, like with all the virtual reality combat scenarios, gain 1000% and all that stuff, gain the medals in that, the Predator scenarios, finding all the collectibles in this game, which is still the only Batman game where I found the collectibles to be fun. Because there's a lot more like riddles and environmental puzzles and stuff like that, which they kind of throw away in City.
Yeah,
it's mostly
definitely
just
some of that.
collect all these riddles.
Yeah, they went overboard in City.
But not like in the good way, because like Arkham Asylum has a bunch of like, like environmental puzzles. Like go to this area and figure out how to get like these objects to line up, or find the clue in this environment.
Yeah.
And that's kind of all been excised by the time of City, and Origins is non-existent. It's one of the reasons why I did not like City as much as Asylum. Another reason is because you can see me running around this environment. It looks quite big, but it's not an open world in traditional sense. Like you're still moving through corridors, you're going through load screens, stuff like that. It's not all completely open.
Yeah, this game in many ways is a third-person, fully 3D version of something like Shadow Complex or
like Metroid, Super Metroid, and stuff like that, where it's about you have this space to operate in, but there's a large sections of it that you just simply cannot access at the time.
Yeah, you can fully backtrack and sort of go to previously discovered locations to find things that you might have missed or whatever.
Not a system that's as prevalent in City. Like there will be small little collectible areas that you can't get to, but most of the city you can traverse immediately.
And I like that about it.
It's interesting. I do like the progression that you get from Arkham Asylum. There is a sense of movement in it. There's a sense of I've gained new tools. I can access new environments. There's a very strict sense of traversal progression there, which I think is completely missing from City. They're both very good. Like I still think City's a really good game. I just prefer how Asylum structures itself a lot more. It appeals to my sensibilities as a gamer more than City's overworld.
What a dirty word, gamer.
Gamer. Ugh. Fuck that. And just like how movement feels in this game, like climbing up things, using your claw to get up places, it all feels really nice.
I think the city traversal stuff in Arkham City is really good, though.
It is. I played through all of City before I got any of that stuff.
Really?
Because all of that stuff is like optional tutorial stuff.
Yeah, I did it right away.
I didn't even look at my map. I was just like, I'm gonna push through the story because that's cool. So I was just doing kind of your traditional Arkham Asylum movement system in City. It felt kind of clunky, or it felt really slow. And then once I finished the game and went back, I was like, hey, wait a second, what the fuck is this tutorial virtual reality thing? And then I played. I'm like, oh fuck. Either they should have made. They should not be responsible for my idiotic bullshit, like in terms of not doing it. But they should have made that like required stuff you had to go through. But I was probably in the vast majority of people who had that issue.
Minority, you mean?
Minority. Vast minority. Which is kind of a idiocentric way of playing that, but you know.
I would say this is one of the best looking Unreal Engine 3 games ever made.
I would agree. There's not a lot of texture popping. There's not a lot, and it's a very nice look. Like even this PC port holds up pretty well.
Yeah, with playing City on the 360 recently, you can tell that it's a quote-unquote last-gen game.
Yeah.
Well, not quote-unquote, it is a last-gen game at this point. But,
it is,
like, it's just, people aren't used to saying last-gen when it comes to those systems.
Sure.
I think people are having a hard time adjusting. But
current gen, next, like, yeah.
But with playing City on the 360, you can tell that it's not...
It's cutting corners.
We, after playing like the Xbox One stuff for a few months, like I haven't played anything that looks that amazing on the Xbox One yet. But
Yeah,
even then, even by comparison, you can say, "Oh wow, Xbox One games actually look better than I realized that they."
Like,
You know what I mean?
sure, like Rise is something that I played that I was impressed by.
Yeah.
In terms of visual fidelity, but it's a much more limited game in scope compared to something like this.
Yeah.
It's a linear action hack and slash thing, like
Even
with a
with
Batman combat system, like even then.
Yeah. But I mean, like even with something like Titanfall, I don't think you realize how good looking Titanfall is until you go back to something that's a bit older. You realize, oh, Titanfall is actually a good jump forward.
It's not even like Titanfall looks amazing. It's kind of the fidelity of the visual design of that game.
Yeah, it's just a step up. It's
Yeah.
just you don't realize at the time.
There's a sharpness to it that I appreciate. Like even like this, there is because it is 1080p. There is a sharpness to it, which I prefer in my video games. I prefer higher resolution to almost anything else because there's a crispness to it that I think is immediately satisfying.
So why didn't you get a PS4 then?
Because I don't like good games, Ross Harley. Now here's one that issue like this is a Predator section. They telegraph this stuff pretty transparently with, hey, there's some gargoyles around here. And
Which got annoying towards the end of the game, I thought.
And there's, yes, that's also a common criticism. But like I just got my remote detonator, my explosive gel thing. I just snuck up behind that guy. I could have like went behind and stealthed him to Batman death, but instead oops, I shouldn't probably be here. I blew up the wall and knocked him out that way. And the further the game progresses, all of your like that gel stuff has that very apparent stealth application to it. But you can also use it in combat, like you can dodge roll and then utilize it that way.
Yeah.
They do a good job about that game where like, every gadget feels like it has a use outside of like the traditional.
I suppose the problem I have with the stealth isn't really the actual stealth mechanics, because they're actually pretty solid. It's just the fact that the gargoyles thing, they do it too many times, it becomes apparent that it's a trick on their part. As video game developer, man.
It's their way to communicate to the player that this is a stealth level instead of this is a combat level, or like these guys have guns.
If you get spotted, you can just press a button and you'll be zipped up here, and it's no thing. Unlike Fit in City, you have smoke that you can pop. That's just more believable. Because it's kind of bullshit, but you just kind of zoom up there and they're like, "Whoa, where'd you go?"
Where did that man go?
Who turned out the lights?
Who turned out the lights?
I like that journey stealth parts here, but you can see what condition they're in terms of how scared they are.
Yeah, it's
And
a
you
nice
can even-
touch, and it actually affects their AI where like they become more jittery. Like they'll actually look behind them sometimes. They'll call out to each other more. It makes the stealth like sections feel more alive than maybe they have any credit to be.
Yeah, I like when you tie them up and then I think you can use your batarang to get the drop the body down.
Yeah.
And that just freaks them out. That's a great way.
Like he doesn't even like see that guy spotted me because he was looking behind him because he's all terrified. So I wasn't able to completely do this incognito, but I was able to knock him out still. And Batman, I feel like they strike kind of the perfect balance of this game between Batman being a badass versus Batman being really vulnerable as a character.
Yeah.
It's not something that a lot of games, either you're super ungodly powerful or you're super ungodly weak. Games do a very bad job of kind of tackling a simultaneous balance between the two. And I think this game kind of nails it. Like,
Yeah.
you feel simultaneously like a badass and simultaneously like guns will really fuck me up.
Yeah, it's again influential because I think this is one of the first stealth games that I played where you feel actually really powerful as a stealth guy. Because usually in stealth games you're a puny man with
Like Splinter Cell or like Metal Gear, where like you're just a dude, and you're
Yeah.
usually outmanned and outgunned, so like you can't really go after people, and like
Which
the
is
shooting,
fine.
and like the shooting
Yeah.
doesn't feel great, so like that's not a viable option. There was a game recently. It was a stealth game. There were guns in it. Maybe it's Betrayer I'm thinking of, where there was a first-person shooting aspect to it, but it's so clumsy that you don't want to engage with it. Or like Thief, or like the melee combat stuff.
it's bad.
It's actually legit bad, and part of it is that they don't want you to engage in that aspect of the game.
I think both ways are valid.
Yeah. Well, I think you have plenty of options in this game to tackle scenarios as you wish in terms of like you can be as in your face as you want to,
Yeah.
but there are limitations on your prowess as the Batman. You are still just a dude, even if you are the Batman.
Yeah.
You just aren't as badass as, let's say, what's a game that like you're like a Predator, for example, I guess, like an ABP.
Yeah. Well, kind of similar in some ways. I think.
Yeah.
I think the last two Splinter Cell games are reminiscent of Arkham in a way, because they're faster, more trigger happy, but it's still a stealth game at the end of the day. It's more aggressive stealth or whatever.
It's action stuff at some point.
Yeah.
It's barely a stealth game at that point anymore. Like the market execute stuff, like even Metal Gear, Ground Zeroes apparently has a thing where when you enter a state where a guard spots you, you get the time slows down so you can pull out your gun and shoot him. So
Yeah.
like, stealth games are going the way of like you still use stealth, but it's kind of not required anymore.
I think
Frame rate's
Blacklist
bad here. Holy shit.
I think Blacklist did a fantastic job of allowing you to play it actually whatever way you wanted.
Which I think Conviction had problems with. Like there was one way
Yeah.
to play Conviction, and it's not necessarily the way that.
I don't
everyone
think that's
wants to play.
entirely true either, but it just wasn't as well realized in Conviction.
Yeah.
Because you had unlimited ammo and all that sort of stuff.
All that bullshit.
Well, it was just you were just shooting people in that game pretty
Yeah.
much. Riddler trophies. Gotta love them.
No, you really don't.
No. I love that line in Arkham City where he says, I know you probably don't want to do them, but you will. And I think that's a really good line.
That's a weird commentary on like.
No, but he's right. Like, I kind of went into it going, I'm not going to really bother with that, but I'm actually finding myself getting a wee bit invested in it, because there's those hostage missions that are linked up to them. So I'm like, well, I kind of want to do those, but yeah.
What's going on?
Oops. Okay. And like with your gadgets and everything, like these stealth scenarios, like they make a good job of you feeling like a superior entity intellectually than like who you're fighting. And most of the scenarios, like you'll fight bosses in this game, and it's criticized that boss fights aren't very good in Arkham Asylum. It's been a while since I played them, so I don't remember them explicitly. I guess
I remember
like,
everyone saying Killer Croc's pretty shitty. I just remember that's the main one that people say it wasn't great.
I remember not being too bothered by it, but maybe that's just like my thing.
There is still more medical staff that need my.
And I don't want to spoil the final boss fight, but I don't remember that being particularly brilliant either. So
I believe it was just like a bigger version of what you've already been doing in the game.
yeah, there's a fairly early boss fight in this game with Bane, which I remember being quite fun, but I might be wrong.
I felt like that was also just like a bigger version of what you're already doing.
Yeah, because there are big mutants in this that aren't like named dudes at some point. Like you do fight just big monsters. But I think at some point you need an enemy like that, because after a while, see, when you get good at this game, you can just punch those fogs all day long. Like they are no threat to you.
Yeah, and there are several enemy types, and kind of the game isn't really meant to be challenging. It's more about how bad of a Batman are you? How badass of a Batman are you? That's kind of the difficulty in this game, is that the combat system isn't really something you can fail. I mean, there is a fail state for it, but it's not something that's really that easy to get into.
It's the game to a certain extent is as hard as you want it to be.
Yeah.
Like the challenge isn't necessarily staying alive. The challenge is how long can you keep a combo going without being hit, sort of thing. And you get annoyed when you mess it up.
Oh yeah, you're just like, oh, I'm a piece of, like, even if you don't take that much damage, when you start upgrading your armor, you're like, I'm fucking terrible at this game. What am I doing with my life?
Like with City, speaking of upgrades, like I haven't been upgrading armor or anything at all. It's just not.
It's
not a
not
priority.
required. It's not necessary.
I know. Just not for me.
And it makes me interested. Like, Origins felt like, I agree with Brad Shoemaker during the Game of the Year debate, is that I feel like they took Batman in the wrong direction. That's just something personal, and I still believe City's a good game. Just for me personally, it's not what I was looking for.
I don't think anyone wanted it, to be honest.
Oh, god damn it. I hate engaging with that.
Like with City, you know, after this game in City, I think the last thing you want is, oh, great, a prequel.
I mean, that was Origins, where it was like, let's go back, we're gonna get different voice actors.
It felt off-brand, isn't that right?
And it just lacked the polish and the care and attention to detail that the Rocksteady brings to their games. Just even in terms of like environmental detail, the games feel so dry.
Like, it's easy to be cynical and look at this and go, oh, you know, it's just good because they throw so much money at it. You know, they obviously, you know, they got all the money to get the right people involved and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, they got the engine looking great and stuff. But, like, at the end of the day, if you don't have a great team behind it all, then it's not going to work out quite as well. And clearly that wasn't the case with Origins. Like, just with the glitches is the main thing.
Glitches, like, I experienced around like 10, that game crashed like 10 times for me. Consistently, like, every about 10 minutes in the open world environment.
And wasn't there like a news article that came out saying, we're not going to fix that or something?
Yeah, they were just like, yeah, we're not gonna, sorry. But you're fucked. If you've been experiencing glitches or anything like that, then you're fucked. Which is really shitty.
And it was widespread enough that it wasn't like just one person.
It was widespread enough where they had to tell people about it.
Yeah, they actually had to mention it.
They had to mention, like, there's probably a lot of you still experiencing glitches, but you can go fuck yourself. Which is a really shitty stance on it. Like, if Rocksteady came out and said that, people would be pissed. They'd be like, what are you doing? they have this weird love by the audience.
Imagine if EA said that with Battlefield.
I mean, no one should buy a Battlefield game ever again if that's the case.
Yeah, but well, I mean, a lot of people still have that opinion now, with even though they're slowly fixing it day by day, and I think it's probably okay, fairly okay now. But it's just the fact that it was bad to begin with. I think is enough. Even if they did fix Origins, the fact that it was bad the first time can be the final word.
It just when people buy your $60 product, you should be giving them some kind of consideration. And there are certain developers who can get away with not fixing their game or not making a quality title. I think Rocksteady is one of those people who could not get away with it. Because
But it wasn't even Rocksteady. It was the fact that it was this unproven developer just makes you think, oh, these guys are amateurs.
Well, A was an unproven developer.
Yeah.
B, the game wasn't impressive enough that anyone really cared too much.
Yeah, like
if it was Arkham City that was caught on fire, people would be pissed.
well, even though you don't like Arkham City as much, at least they had the balls to do things differently.
Oh,
You know what I
definitely.
mean?
It's one of those things where, even though I didn't like Arkham City as much as Arkham Asylum, it's still a very well-made game.
Oh yeah.
Even just in terms of graphical and technical polish, Arkham City is really good.
And the fact that they even tried to do an open city, that's hard. And I think they pulled it
It was
off
a
pretty
radical
well.
direction for this franchise to go in.
Yeah.
It's not something. Game sequels are usually pretty conservative in terms of what direction they go in. And turning the game into an open world thing was a pretty radical direction to move in.
Yeah. It made total sense, but actually pulling it off is another thing.
Got another thing coming. Let's see here. I forget what I'm supposed to do in this area. I think this was the area where if you stole the game, you couldn't pass it because they would just disable the glide on your character. That was good stuff.
Mhm.
When that got out there, they're like, no, there's problems with your moral code. Which I always thought was a really funny response from a developer.
Wasn't Alan Wake wore a pirate eye patch or something?
It's something and that's
That
just
was a thing.
that's just funny, haha. But Rocksteady was like, nope, it's not a glitch. It's just you're a fucking awful person. Sorry.
Mhm.
Oops. Which I appreciated. I like developers who take hard stances on things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, god damn it. I wonder if I got that. Can't glide. I'm just being terrible, probably. Let's see. Just try to... There we go. I want to check out that Blackgate thing. It's 2D Batman, which sounds... It makes a lot of sense when you consider the legacy of this game in terms of its heritage. Something that's so inspired by the Metroid stuff. Especially Asylum is. It kind of... you can kind of see how that works. But
And
at the
there
same time-
have been some decent 2D Batman games in the past. Batman mostly sucked when it went into 3D with the PlayStation and PlayStation 2.
movie
All those
title
games are
stuff and
all those games are hot shizzle.
hot shizzle, hot shiznit.
No, in a bad way.
Yeah, right. I don't know if that can be bad. Shiznit, shizzle.
Oh,
It's only good. And they'll give you cool environmental puzzles like that, for you to solve. I think I just saved all these people. Let's see, what was my objective to say? Return to doctors and pick up tobacco trail.
It's one of those games that's just outstandingly well detailed in every respect, really. It's one of those... I remember when it came out, there really isn't a lot bad I can say about it.
There's a lot of criticisms people can make about certain design choices about these games that they just don't like the gargoyle stuff, the boss
Well, I
fight
feel like
stuff.
that's poking holes.
It's
like-
nitpicking
Yeah.
at some point. Overall, this game is super well done and one of the most influential games. There's a reason why people are like, we have a Batman combat system. It's because Batman popularized that entire thing.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the main problems that people have when making games like third-person action games is fighting multiple enemies at once and getting that to work is really hard. And this game just did it effortlessly. You know?
Really? Well, maybe not effortlessly because this probably.
But
took
you
a
know what
lot
I
of
mean?
work.
Like, it looks effortless.
It's
like,
fluid. It's
yeah.
like there's not a lot of hassle in it, just in terms of learning the system and executing the system.
I remember at the time, a good comparison for me to compare this game to would be like the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay, just in terms of sheer quality.
In terms of like licensed products.
Yeah.
Like, this and like before this, Riddick was the like de facto gold standard in terms of licensed video games.
Yeah.
And I think this game is a lot better than Chronicles of Riddick. I think
it's probably aged better.
And I think will have a stronger legacy than Riddick will have. Riddick's a good game, but it's also a very strange game. While this game just kind of makes sense in any capacity.
Sure, I'll give you that.
Like, come on, that's a weird game. These games are so weird.
Well, they're mostly like hardcore stealth.
Yeah, and this game just there is stealth, but it's not as dedicated.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was much more forward thinking than Riddick was in that case. Like Riddick was just a very well made first person stealth game. Like a very well made one.
There was stuff in Riddick that I think games should have ripped off, but they didn't.
Sure.
Like the whole like when you're in stealth, when you're in the shadows, the game tinted the screen tinted blue,
And
like
I mean,
stuff like that.
Games kind of took that direction, but they like replaced it with vignetting the edges of the screen.
Not even like most games still use stealth bars and meters and.
Dishonored and Thief both had like vignettes, but like Thief had the light gem, so.
Yeah. I suppose a Conviction turned black and white when you went into the shadows,
That's right, it did.
and I didn't like that. I thought that was a tedious effect in comparison. But
Conviction?
yeah, it just didn't
like
like.
Betrayer graphics. You weren't a fan?
I just thought it was a bit strange.
Yeah, it was.
Damn Joker teeth.
They're kind of fun to throw batarangs at, I have to say.
There's the balloons in Arkham City.
Is there? Don't remember that. I didn't like after the main story. I didn't engage with any of the side stuff. Like
That's why I don't mainline stories, because I know I won't do anything after.
Yeah, that's why I do it. Is because I just don't give a fuck about side stuff usually.
Some of the side stuff seems good though.
Like I didn't do any of the Riddler like Saw puzzle stuff. I didn't touch any of that.
Yeah, I've done one of those.
Yeah,
I just like that there's more character interactions with satellite characters from the Batman universe in that game.
Arkham City has a huge fucking cast of characters. It's pretty terrifying.
This game has quite a lot too, but yeah, City's crazy.
And it's a lot more B characters too.
Sure, but
and Origin
I mean,
starts running into that problem too, where it's like Firefly, and like you're like what?
yeah, Arkham not Origins, Asylum. This one, the game we're playing.
Yeah.
I think most of the characters in here, people know.
And like the game most of like the A tier stuff, and a lot of the B tier stuff is like part of the collectibles and like the Riddler stuff. Like it'll give you like find Calendar Man or whatever, and then you like find a calendar hanging on the wall or whatever. Like I can't get that guy.
So I have a Calendar Man question.
Yeah.
Alright, he's in City, but like, do you remember he's like down in like a basement somewhere?
I didn't do any of that.
But it's not anything.
I literally did not touch any of that side stuff.
But it's not anything. You go up to him and he. I played it yesterday, which was April Fool's Day,
Yeah.
and he went on about April Fool's Day, and I thought that's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you go. There are certain dates that they sort of programmed in where he talks about them.
I think there's an
an
achievement like tied to it. Like you can only get that achievement on very specific days.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. I thought that was very clever. It took me by surprise.
Just, I mean, the Rocksteady stuff just has so much like little touches, like little.
That's
little
like something Kojima would do. Like that's
Yeah.
It's pretty tight. I like
It's
that.
very specific and very
Yeah.
like referential. And I think that's what Origins missed a lot. Is that like they just recycled a bunch of the environments from City. They added some new stuff. They just filled with a bunch more trophies, and they added a bunch of like B tier characters. Like to the point where like one of them is just like a lady, like, but who used to be a guy in comic books. And there's like that no one knew the name of, and they're like, oh,
There's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
no, there's nothing wrong with that. But like no one really gave a shit. And there are people who really like who like Origins, and part of me wonders if they like that like system, that combat system so much, and like that stealth system that like they'll just take anything. They give
I
it
guess
to 'em.
so. The thing that annoys me with any prequel is when they have abilities that existed in the sequel, but not in the first game.
Yeah.
In the prequel, if that makes any sense. Just that annoys me.
No, I mean yeah. I mean it was ODST which had like the silenced pistol and stuff like that.
Gears of War Judgment is guilty of that.
Yeah, I never played it myself, but
Remember the Locust rifle, whatever it's called. Remember in the first Gears of War it was burst fire, and then in Gears of War 2 they made it single shot.
oh yeah, yeah.
It's single shot in Judgment. It's like, how could you mess that up? How could you mess that up?
It's because it's a B tier Gears of War game. Like, you know, that's how they mess it up.
People can fly, didn't even play those games. Like, oh, bullshit.
I mean, they did probably, but
No,
the budget
they-
was probably really constrained, and they didn't have the development time. Blah blah blah.
No, I actually like Judgment, so. there
Yeah,
go.
you do. So you're not talking too much shit.
No, I just think it's silly. Like that's like an easy thing. They could have got that right for the fans. You know, fans would have appreciated a little touch like that. Little touches like that go a long way. And I think a game like Arkham Asylum has loads of little touches.
Yeah, like right now I'm in the first one of the first Scarecrow sections of this game,
Yeah.
and like it snuck up on me. Like for a while I didn't notice it, but like your screen is tilted to the left, so it's slanted, and like that's something that I didn't really realize until it just stuck up on me. I'm like, holy shit! Like it actually got me. It kind of felt like a psychological horror thing. Like I did not notice like this game's camera skewed. Batman's eyes are really fucking red. Like it's not something I noticed immediately.
It's subtle, yeah.
It's subtle. It gets you. It's kind of like a lot of games don't do the psychological thriller thing very well. Like when this started happening, I was like, "Oh God, they got me." Like
I
it
don't
freaked me
remember
out.
the red eyes thing. I must have missed that or something. No, I just don't remember it probably. But yeah, I just completely forgotten that little detail.
And it's like a really clever way. Like they touch upon like Batman's origins. He's an orphan. His parents were killed, and like you see all these like cockroaches and spiders on the ground. That's fucked up. Like this game just
It
like,
even makes the presence of an Origins game that more baffling.
because they cover it they cover it so extensively and so well in Asylum that like it's completely unnecessary that they go and try to tell that story again, but even in like a poorer way.
Shocking.
It's unfortunate because I like the Batman games quite a bit, even if I don't like City as much as Asylum. Still a fantastic game.
Yeah. Another great touch is that Batman's suit gets more and more wrecked as the game goes on.
Yeah, for me, this was one of the first games that were actually like I noticed the little stuff. Like, not that other games don't have the little stuff like that, but I feel like the little stuff was so influential to like what this game was trying to do
Yeah.
that like I couldn't help but notice it and like give it respect. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here.
I don't know either. But I'll fill in and say, another thing that fits in with like the details is that the sheer amount of dialogue in the game for the inmates and the
They talk a
Joker's
lot.
gates. They talk a lot, and there's a lot of unique lines of dialogue. So some of it repeats, sure, but like
Oh,
there's a lot
that's
of
what.
stuff out
Okay. Yeah, this game just got me again in terms of like psychological horror stuff. Like, okay, that explains what was going on.
It must have taken him forever to get that cape looking right.
The physics of the cape are fucking awesome. They just look so cool, and they look right.
It must have taken them a long time to get that right.
This game was in development forever.
Was it?
I feel like it was in development for a long time and got delayed a couple of times, and like
I
no one really gave a fuck about it until it came out, and like, no, this game is really fucking excellent.
I think the demo was the main thing. This is one of those games that was smart to have a demo a couple of weeks before release.
Yeah, you're like, holy shit, this game is awesome. And like, and then you turn around, like, this whole thing's back, like, this game is brilliant. Like, straight up, I'm sorry, maybe it's hyperbole, but this game is just fucking awesome. Like,
Oh no, you just made a hyperbolic statement there.
I'm sorry. This game
It's only quite good.
No, it's more than that. And there's a reason, like, EA put out a statement recently. They're like, for our Star Wars games, we're taking inspiration from like Rocksteady's Batman games, like even Shadows of Mordor, the new Lord of the Rings game by Monolith. They said the same exact thing. Like, this game is so influential and very more than just its gameplay, but in terms of like how you respect a property.
Yeah, like we said, it's not even innovative. Like, there's nothing in this game that hasn't been done before, really. It's just that it's so good.
It's so
And
well executed.
that goes the extra mile. It doesn't really, like a lot of people these days are saying, "Oh, AAA games are boring," and all they do is recycle things day in day out. But like, just sheer execution is more important, I think.
And like, as long as
it's
they
more-
execute it and they give it their own unique twist.
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
And that's like something like Dead Space did. It was like, it wasn't like all the reviews for it is like, this game isn't that innovative, but that doesn't really matter because they execute so extremely well, better than a lot of their contemporaries in a lot of ways, and
Yeah.
also
That's
it's-
another good example of that.
And they do give it its own unique twist in terms of like, Dead Space is not all about the headshots, all about the center mass shots,
It's
cut the limbs,
oh,
like.
it's just little things like that that go a long way.
It's
you
a
know?
little thing, but like kind of fixes a lot of core issues people have with like first-person shooters, where they're all like headshot city.
It's a good place to be.
Headshot city.
Um,
And boss fights like these are really cool, really fun. And
this is what Arkham Origins Black Knight looks like. I can imagine it looking like that. I haven't really seen much on it, but
What's going on?
yeah.
and like another reason why I didn't like City is that I don't think they have like, I love the Scarecrow sections a lot, and there's nothing like that in City really, and you don't want them to repeat it, but I don't think there's like anything else in terms of like its boss fight stuff that's as memorable as like the Scarecrow stuff.
I'll get back to you.
Apparently, Scarecrow is a big deal in the next game. So
Oh really? That's cool. I feel like that's the time for it. Like, he's been kind of gone for the last couple of games, so
yeah,
bringing him back would be cool. I'm really interested in what Arkham Knight does, because after Origins,
It wasn't Gordon.
I got super tired. Like, I realized that like these core 3 systems are so specific to this franchise, but that's not necessarily a completely good thing. They're so specific to the point where they don't have a lot of longevity outside of like the games that do it really well.
yeah. And Arkham Knight's gonna be Rocksteady's last Batman game,
Which is good and bad.
supposedly. Yeah. Though, like you say, I think you can only do it so many times. I think.
And that's not to say they're not going to... Rocksteady will stop making games. Or, like, I'm sure more Batman games will come out.
Absolutely, because it's Warner.
Even if you don't want them, they're going to come out.
Do you know what's weird about this game? This game was co-published by Eidos.
That's right.
Remember
When IDOS still existed. 'Cause I
when
believe
Eidos, I think they owned a bit of
I thought they
Rocksteady.
had, like, part of the Batman license, I think was the thing.
I think they also owned a bit of Rocksteady or something at the time.
Yeah, and then I believe after this game, Warner Bros. Immediately just picked up Rocksteady. They're like, nope,
Yeah,
you're coming with
the
us.
rest. Yeah, we've got more money. Let's go.
We got more money. We want you to make more Batman games. Perfect combination. And they talk about like they're adding like vehicle driving to like you'll drive the Batmobile and like that will affect how you traverse and stuff. But, like if you think about it, that doesn't seem like a big deal. But like even you playing through City, like picking like driving a vehicle in those levels would be awful.
Oh no, it's not made for that at all.
And so this adding the Batmobile to it could be a huge change to the franchise, and maybe what they really need going forward. Like it's like Arkham City, big innovation for that franchise there was the open world,
Yeah.
and in terms of like maybe the Batmobile will be that because Origins didn't have that new thing. It was just more of the old thing, but nowhere near as well done.
It'll probably be, yeah, just the fact that with the Batmobile being in play, that city's probably going to be a much more bigger to accommodate that, which is exciting, you know. But it's also scary.
It's also scary. Like, and when you hear like Batman Arkham City when it first was announced, they're like, "We're moving Batman to the open world," and you're like, that was fucking scary when you first heard that. It's like, how are they going to be able to do that? That makes no sense, and they figured it out.
Yeah,
So,
I mean the actual city in Arkham City isn't that big compared to most games. It's an open village or something. But
it's big relative to what this game was before.
yeah, well, and it's also big because you're just a man. Like if you were using vehicles or anything like that, yeah, it would be really small. But because you're just a dude, it's you're Batman. You know, you're gliding.
Batman.
You're using the grappling hook to get around.
And like Arkham Knight has been developed for 3 years. That doesn't necessarily equate to quality, but it does give you a positive outlook at first of like it seems like they've been given the time necessary.
Yeah, and the fact that it's you know, current gen only, so to speak.
Also bodes well for like people like us who are tired, who see the games that feel like they're kind of handicapped in
Yeah,
terms of like their technology.
you have games like Thief that don't look that great on last gen, and they don't look that great on current gen either, because they're kind of.
But then you play PC and they look alright.
Yeah, because the PC has the benefit of just
Being the PC.
being whatever. Yeah. Just depends on how good the port is, I suppose.
Yeah. Forget how to get up. Oh, there's some stairs, I think, right here. I think we're nearing the Bane fight here.
I like the Batman run.
Yeah, he just
like
gets
it's-
into it. He's like
It's like shit out of the TV show.
and there's a lot of people like they use a lot of the voice actors from the TV show, so that's great.
Well, I mean like the '60s show, but yeah, the cartoon.
The cartoon.
Is what they
Kevin
use to
Conroy,
voice
Mark
the show.
Hamill,
Yeah, Mark Hamill's performance in these games is
fantastic.
spectacular. Yeah.
And like one of those things where like in Origins they get like they get a new Batman voice actor. They get who is the former Ezio from Assassin's
Oh
Creed.
really?
Uh huh.
I didn't know.
Don't know his name unfortunately. And then they get Troy Baker's like Joker, and they both do good jobs of like doing younger impersonations of those characters, but they don't have the same weight. Like Troy
Yeah.
Baker can do the laugh, but like it's not the same laugh. If it makes me wish that if like they do go in that direction, like with new voice actors and everything, that they like try to make it their own in some way. And they don't. They just kind of replicate old stuff with unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
And it was the Origins where they like added the electro gloves, where like it would instantly one-shotted whoever's in the environment in like the melee combat scenarios, which made it like, why am I doing this anyway? Like if I'm just one-shotting everybody, it's not. It's fun at first, but then like even the like the small amount of challenge already in those sections is completely like emphasized for it.
Electric Batman is something I'm not really interested in.
And that was like the thing of the Wii U one, right? Like yeah, electro armor or whatever it was.
Yeah, it had that and bad frame rate, so good for them, I guess. And that version of the game was by Montreal.
Weird, huh?
So there you go. Yeah.
Frame rate issues in a Montreal game, and like buggy and shit.
Well, I'm not dissing the place in Canada. I'm dissing the studio. Just wanna get
Yeah, you
that
would.
clear.
You're just like a focus Assassin's Creed and all that, right?
No.
I mean, that's even how influential these games were. Is that like Assassin's Creed turned into Batman combat system at some point?
Yeah, because they realized how boring their combat system was.
That's not true.
That is very true.
I thought you were supposed to wait for this guy to like run himself into a wall and then you would hit him.
That seemed like a thing. I think that's a thing.
What, him running into walls?
But it's been a very long time since I played this.
He always like stops short, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, goddamn. I guess speaking of like this also hit around the same time as like the Christopher Nolan Batman and stuff, right?
It did, yeah.
Okay, I was supposed to throw my battery. That wasn't obvious, but
Well, you know.
sure. There we go. Yeah, I thought you had to run into a wall or something.
Yeah. Well, at least they give you a little tip there, so you're not just dodging forever.
Oh shit, I'm getting shit kicked out of me. I guess I'm not supposed to go up and hit him. And in this game, you don't really regen health, so like, you could be just straight up fucked.
Well, you do outside of combat.
Outside
I
of
think
combat.
I did that, yeah.
Did you hear that Wolfenstein has the block health system?
Yes, yeah.
Excited about that?
It's gonna be great. Well, I thought it had just straight up numbers at E3. But maybe they've changed it since. But either way. Yeah, no, it is a straight up number, but it regenerates up to a certain point. I think that's how they're doing that.
That's what the Wikipedia article says as a block health system. So.
Yeah, but Wikipedia, it's not a real, it's not a journalist, you know, it's not a journal.
He's not a video game man.
No.
Got very low health for this boss fight.
Yeah, well,
I fucked up.
Yeah, I just remember it being quite fun because of the whole jumping on his back thing. That was a fun moment.
It was neat. It was fun.
Yeah, yeah. And you do that with some of the bigger monsters as well. I think you ride on their back and you get them to swipe at people or something.
Oh, god damn it. I was too close to the sun on that one. And also, nice touch. There's a bunch of unique death animations in this game. Like, all the bosses will have, like, several lines of dialogue if you die, and they'll show, like, him doing a thing, which is pretty
Yeah,
neat.
it's excellent.
Nice little touch. Again, nice little touch of detail.
Yeah. I love that. I really do.
Yeah.
I noticed when playing City, you know the helicopters that fly about the city?
You can climb on them.
Oh, no, not that. When they spot you, they start saying things. They say, "Oh, look, there's Batman."
Oh, do they really?
Yeah, and when you're beating folks up, they're like, "Oh, Batman's beating the crap out of people down there." And when you defeat them all, they sometimes say, "Batman wins." And I'm like,
That's pretty good.
these guys knew that injustice was going to be a thing. That's them.
Did they
They foreshadowed up.
did they own Never Realms by that point?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe it was like, we can make a reference to it.
Yeah. Maybe it's not even that. I'm just reading too much into it, but it just seems. That's what it reminded me of when I heard Batman wins. I need to play Injustice again someday.
I've always wanted to, but
It was the best Batman
outside of Batman, I really don't give a fuck about DC stuff.
Yeah. The Joker's a very fun character to play.
I heard he shoots people in the head.
He does have a gun. Yeah.
That's like his fatality or whatever.
I think it was like his super move, like his. I don't know what they called that in those games, but they like pulled out a rocket launcher or something. It was pretty brittle. But in Mortal Kombat vs DC Universe, there was a fatality where the Joker shot them in the head, which was pretty gnarly. Yeah, that was a good game, but
Justice?
no, the one before it, Mortal Kombat vs DC Universe.
Didn't play that one very much. I know my brother liked it.
Well, there you go. We should get more of his content on the site.
Okay,
He obviously he knows what's up. You just play these silly Assassin's Creed games and.
Yeah, me. Yeah. Assassin's Creed clones.
Yeah, I mean, there's only going to be 3 Assassin's Creed games this year, and you're going to play them. You've already played one of them.
Are you talking about
so-
Shadows of Mordor?
No, I was talking about Liberation HD.
You
But
okay?
I mean, Freedom Cry also came out, so I still have to play that. I didn't get very far in that.
No?
No, I didn't get very. I just completely.
What's your Assassin's Creed fanboy?
There was a bunch of stuff that came out around that time, if I remember right. Like Dark Souls 2, Titanfall.
When you get the tattoo?
I already have one. Sorry. Showed you the contest. It's that one that we put up on the site. Like, come on.
Ah, I see.
No, Bane.
This time I break you. This is great. He calls his Batmobile to crush into that guy. Good stuff.
Yep. Which is
It's kind of a weird reference to like the Dark Knight Rises, kind of.
Well,
like, a
Injustice
foreshadowing?
also. Injustice has that as well. I
Oh,
think
really?
it's his. I think that's Batman's super. Is that he calls them
The
the
Batmobile to kill you.
I
That's
think
great.
so. Yeah.
That's fucked up, but yeah, great.
Radio claims you
Yeah.
planted bombs all over Gotham. Gotham will panic. You're needed there.
I guess like Arkham Knight will be the first time that theoretically the entire entire Gotham City will be something you can traverse.
It's Spanish.
Yeah, it's just weird that they're still calling it Arkham, but I suppose that's the brand.
It is. It's their Arkham trilogy, and it's going to come to an end, and it'll be interesting to see what comes next.
The fact that, apparently the main bad guy is this Arkham Knight character, it's like...
Apparently, he's
that's
a
not- that's
new
not even a
character.
dude. Yeah, that's not even a dude, so that's a bit risky as well.
It is, but I like it. I like that they're trying.
It's just a crisis man with pointy ears, that's all that is.
Armor activated. Maximum armor.
Yeah, that's it.
Maximum strength. I always like this, like the voices in that game. Like the
Yeah,
voices.
but the bit where you played it,
That's unfortunate. But I think that would do it for our Hall of Fame on Batman Arkham Asylum.
thank you very much.
This game is very cool. Very good game. Still.
Very good.
It's hard to justify going back and playing these games when like you have a bunch of other stuff to play, new stuff that you need to talk about and stuff you need to write and everything. But it's always good coming back to these things and like remembering these games were pretty cool.
If you haven't played them, play them before the new one comes out.
Recommend it. Maybe skip
Yeah.
Origins.
Yeah, well, I know they do a pack over here in the UK where you get all three of them anyway, so
Alright, so get it by proxy.
yeah.
Alright, and I think that'll do it. Thank you, Ross Hartley, for joining me on my Hall of Fame look at Batman
alright.
Arkham Asylum.
Brilliant.
We'll see y'all some other time.